Alrighty, this is one of the, I guess the simplest way to put this, one of the uh, archaeology focused episodes. Star Trek has done this many times in the past, where they have an episode that exists so that they can show off this remains of an alien civilization and wax philosophical about the meaning of death in the context of this alien civilization. Well, okay, that's the background for this one. Most of the episode is actually about this kid who recently got orphaned by the fact that the civilization left behind weapons that were still dangerous, and his mother, his only remaining family, got killed due to it. Yeah, that's how it starts. In fact, we never actually see the surface of the planet, as far as I know. Yep, the part where she dies is handled off screen by Captain Picard talking to the away team on their communicators, and we don't actually see anything prior to them getting beamed back to the ship with her already dead. Then a alien entity impersonates her for most of the episode. So the actress who played the role actually got plenty of screen time. She didn't just show up as an extra with horrible wound slash face paint. Yeah, see, this episode does actually go into a significant amount of detail into the nature of this planet. Okay, I say significant amount of detail, but it's not a full lore dump. How exactly the Federation knows about the place is unclear, but they did apparently come here so that they could have an archaeologist study the ruins on the planet. The catch is they chose ruins that were booby trapped because this was that kind of war. Except that we don't actually know why the war was fought. Seeing that was apparently part of why the Federation was investigating the planet, is that they know that this used to be an inhabited world and that it used to have a sentient species living on it, but that some war that they fought with each other caused the race to be wiped out. What they don't know is that there's actually two races. Yeah, energy life forms that also live on the planet. This is a rather strange one for Star Trek because of the fact that it's like, like physical people living alongside a Fey realm. That's actually kind of sort of the way it feels in the end result of the way the episode was written. Is that the physical flesh and blood people living on Koinonia Alpha um didn't know the energy beings existed, apparently. One of the energy beings, we only actually talked to one of them, talked about how that the members of their race had felt bad about it after the physical race wiped themselves out, and like, oh, maybe we could have done something to stop that. Yes, maybe. Boy. This is a very strangely written part because of the fact that they don't actually explain how the physical race wiped themselves out. Although the stuff where they talk about the condition of the planet suggests that it was something akin to global thermonuclear war. Because the surface is radioactive, it would be marginally suitable for human habitation, And there's very little structures built by the Koinonians left on the surface. Most of what's still intact and worth looking at is underground structures, which is where Worf and the Federation archaeologist were when she died. But as I mentioned before, yeah, expect booby traps. Anyways, so what to do with this in a TTRPG? The setting of a semi-hostile world that was booby-trapped by a race that's now dead, that's an interesting idea for having players investigate, because that is absolutely the thing that Starfleet would send a Federation crew to go mess with. It's like, oh yeah, there's this planet over there. We know the planet's there, but we don't really know enough about it, and we want to learn more. So we're sending you there to learn more. Enjoy, and try not to die, because that's happened more than once. I mean, let's face it. Most of the red shirt deaths in Star Trek, or in her case, blue shirt, obviously, but it's there to give the situation a feeling of danger. It's like, oh no, we need to be very, very careful and not end up like that person over there who just died for no reason. That is actually an interesting thing, is because when you look at Marla Astor's injuries, all of her injuries seem to be to her face. I mean, presumably that horrifying gash on her temple is what actually killed her. But still, it's said to be something akin to a landmine, but we don't see the detonation, so we don't actually know anything more about it other than it being an explosive device. Also, one of the phrases used to describe the explosive device refers to a subspace proximity detonator. Does this mean that since the devices are somehow out of phase with normal space, so you can't even see that they're there? Which, admittedly, is absolutely a Star Trek thing, because of the fact that that's how those stupid Houdini mines in the Dominion War worked. Is that the Dominion forces would put them in place, and they would disappear by leaving three-dimensional space, so that you could actually walk straight through them without touching them. Then they would explode and blow you to smithereens. Interesting stuff. Now, another thing that's interesting about this is that it's said that the Koinonians killed themselves in wars that lasted for several generations. Again, and also phrased as endless and bitter wars, plural. And that the final one was the one that lasted several generations. It's like, we have no idea what they're fighting about, or why they're fighting, or even what kind of weapons they were using for the most part. We have a few ideas, but that's something that, as a person writing a TTRPG module for this, you could have a lot of fun elaborating on, because like, oh, what kind of weapons was it? Why is the planet almost completely wrecked? Because like, one way of potentially looking at it is that, oh, maybe they were, it's like blowing up one city at a time, except that's not usually how wars work in real life. I mean, people wish they worked like that in real life, but if it's a multi-generational conflict, oh, no, 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 no. You're not going to stick to the small potatoes and just blow up one city every 20 years. Yeah. And a war that was so cataclysmically destructive that the entire race died off. I would go and postulate that the reason the entire race died off is that they functionally killed the planet's biosphere. I mean, there might be some parts of it left somewhere, but given the emphasis on how many decades the war lasted, it would make quite a lot of sense to state that the reason the race died out was the fact that they functionally made their own world uninhabitable. They made their world uninhabitable, they're stuck on it, and oh, now they can't inhabit their own homeworld. It would also be interesting to reveal that actually no, the entire they didn't actually wipe out their entire race, and the Federation observers just haven't figured out where the small remaining population of Koinonians is currently living. Although we do have something akin to uh, um, confirmation of this by that energy being who claimed to have, verified it and stuff. However, again, it's not one of those omniscient narrator kind of energy beings. Well, we don't even know. The being has abilities that are very interesting, but we don't have a whole lot of information on what they're capable of. So we don't really know if these energy beings actually have 100% accurate information. Like one, they didn't know that what the uh, physical flesh and blood Koinonians were doing would result in this. So obviously, they have drastic limitations. They do have certain interesting abilities though, because this whole like green spike thing, I'm pretty sure this is them doing a digitization showing the energy coming from the planet to the ship when the energy being manifests an artificial environment on board the ship. Yeah, creating a simulation of the place where Jeremy Astor lived on Earth. That's interesting. This is not part of the ship, but this is where they visit for part of the episode. Also, it is actually a clue to her past because the actual Starfleet officer who uh, was Jeremy's mother was a big fan of archaeology on alien planets. As a side note, this is one of those extra bizarre Art Nouveau style houses where they have bizarrely shaped windows for artistic reasons, and it's a very Star Trek thing to do. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people in modern everyday life would actually do that if they could. It's just that in real life, those are expensive. If they were cheap and easy, hey, why not? But I digress. The setting of Koinonia definitely something you could play with if you wanted to have an archaeology focused session, because you have dangers, you have hazards. Because this episode doesn't actually show much of Koinonia, you could have all sorts of fun with looking into it. Because one of the things that was the end point in this episode is that the Federation doesn't know. The Federation has reason to send more people to Koinonia to collect more information about what the heck happened to the planet. And the energy beings weren't able to tell them all that much. And that's another thing about this that's interesting. Having players talk to the energy beings would be something that wouldn't be an please end mission now button, because the energy beings won't necessarily have all the answers. They have abilities, but not necessarily answers. Like, there's one scene where they go back to that place and find that there's a bunch of more of those mines that had been defused, presumably by the energy beings, because the energy beings didn't even know that those mines were there in the first place. Yeah, that's a fun twist to the episode. At any rate, though, it's a twist that would be interesting for a TTRPG session to explore. Alrighty then.